Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Down the Rabbit Hole with ASHALA and Crystal,
You got it.
mom and daughter here.
This is us down the rabbit hole, tuning in on Beyond Mystic.
November 27th. Is it really? No, that's not right.
Oops.
November 20th. Whoops, we got the wrong date on here. Well, we're going to be here this week
Yes, we
and
are.
next week.
I mean, next week.
So if you haven't done so already, please remember to like, share, and subscribe on the Beyond Mystic YouTube and Rumble channel.
Let's pull it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the Beyond Mystic YouTube channel growing by the day. Thank you so much, everyone. And be also sure to subscribe to the Beyond Mystic Rumble channels. More and more excellent stuff there to check out. So
Love it.
love it. Okay.
So what we're doing in these shows in the Down the Rabbit Hole is we are doing that. And the whole impetus for designing this show was that Crystal and I have these deep conversations often in the morning around having our warm drinks and getting into these deep discussions where we end up going down into exploring topics from all these different angles and asking more and more questions. And what we discover is that we never get a full, complete answer. So if you're really looking for just give me the straight up answer, ASHALA, this is probably not the show that you're going to want to go watch, because we're basically
we may take you on some
going to continue to unpack and go layer by layer into the depth of perspective on different things. And we're okay with that. We're okay with slowly, as time goes by, you start to get a larger big picture overview, gathering wider, more expansive understanding of the nature of reality. And that's my goal, is to keep our awareness open, always evolving, always. There's so much to know. I used to believe that you could get to the truth and that would be a full stop. And I've discovered over many years of kind of chasing that what I've received is phenomenal. I want to say almost like big picture overview, where I get to sense the greater and greater picture always unfolding and expanding in front of me. And what you can start to do is notice patterns. You can say, this is connected to that, connected to that. I heard this over here. I heard this years ago from that source. You can start to sense the lay of the land without knowing every detail exactly. So hopefully that's helpful for some of you. And that's why you're here joining us. Crystal's going to just shout out to a few people that are regular followers here.
Yeah, and we had hello Lupo, welcome. Greetings. Hello, blessings, Alicia and Asa. So lovely to see you. Ricky, Spunky Dane. Hi.
Yeah.
Early morn, our Woo family. It's so lovely to see all of you.
Oh, look at that. We just topped 111. We just went boop, 111, 114. Whoop, up we go.
Hello from Utah.
Hi.
Rainy today. Love it. It's so nice to get cozy on a good rainy day.
So we don't have a lot of questions in the chat at the moment. We will take questions, but we thought, since we have this extraordinary, I don't even remember all the lineup. I have been going over to Meg's channel and watching her forecast. Love it, by the way. Check it out if you haven't followed her over there. And she was talking about this particular week and this new moon, which technically it's kind of like it was last night, right? The new moon in Scorpio.
Yes.
So it's technically like last night and this morning, or wherever you are in the world, somewhere in the last 24-hour period is when it's officially been.
On time for the very first time.
Yay.
Hello.
And what this Scorpio new moon, she said it was her favorite, not necessarily the easiest new moon of the year, but the one that she felt was the most impactful. And what I love that she said we'd be able to do like this kind of deep diving exploring, looking at shadow aspects, looking at deep, dark things, but that they wouldn't knock us down. It wouldn't be overwhelming. We wouldn't lose our minds. We would actually be able to do that almost with a kind of grace.
Mm-hmm.
And there'd be a lot of universal support for us to have the courage and the calmness to look at that. So I thought we could maybe talk today as start ourselves off here with the subject of evil. And I mean, no small thing, right? But also considering these narratives around, you know, the Nephilim, the fallen angels, the Luciferian experiment, falling into matter. Why is this relevant? What do we need to know about how this all happened and what we're meant to do with this experience and how we're meant to integrate that? So that's where I'd like to go. Do you have any comments on that, Crystal, before we start shuffling and asking?
No, I mean, I see that we have a few comments that have a few questions that have come up. And so we'll take a little bit of time now to dive into this topic that we've brought in and doused on being like a great topic to share on and to get the juices flowing here. And then we'll get into your questions. Now, we won't be able to display it. I could possibly type something in the comments. It'll show up as Beyond Mystic, and then people think that John Claude's here. He's not. Well, maybe he is, but so I would love to just dive in. Let's see what the cards say.
Let's pull
we
the
had
cards.
A little bit of a chat about it before we came on. Mom filled me in on some aspects of you know, what we might be talking to. So I'm excited.
Should we bring up the cards, Crystal?
Let's do it.
There they are. All right. So my feeling is that we could start asking about the nature of evil, maybe.
Deep topic. I have so many questions. Let us know.
Yeah, and it is a deep topic, and like I said, Scorpio new moon, if there's ever a time in the entire year to dive into these kind of topics, this is it. This is it.
This is it.
And so, and again, I loved how Meg said it's so well held. This particular deep dive is held with so much support. So we're held.
So I do see your question here, and it is one that has been starred. And when we get into answering questions, we'll come back to that one just so that you are aware that we see you.
Okay, nature of evil. Nature of evil. We're going to start with that, and then we'll move into these narratives around the fallen angels, the Lucifer experiment.
So in asking what do we need to know about the nature of evil, is this in regards to humanity? Is this in regards to any, is there a container for it, or is just the nature of evil in general?
What do you feel would be most ideal to?
I feel like how it's affecting us, like how we're interfacing with it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, let's have a look.
So we'll ask the nature of it, us, what is the nature of it, and then how is it affecting humanity, past, present, future, and how do we integrate that?
Some advice.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. Love it. You do that. I'm going to start burning some Palo Santo here.
Lovely. So here's all of us inquiring. Here we are. We are looking, the vision quest, we are going on an internal journey, a walkabout, especially in the emotional body. It's a time for contemplation, for asking these questions and waiting for the answer. You'll notice there's the empty space where the cups are piled up, but there's one missing. He's going to look for that missing cup. There's something, we don't have the full picture. We don't know. There's something missing in our narrative about evil. And it could be important for us right now to know that with that 8 of Cups.
Yeah.
The nature of it, the magician, the nature of it that we need to know about right now is the magician. Okay, wow.
So we're talking about some polarities in the conversation here, the need for the darkness in order to be able to have the light.
Mm-hmm.
And that really speaks to this, to me, the as above, so below type of reality, where it's actually the two sides of one whole.
Yeah.
Like the poles.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised, actually. I'm just going to change this a little bit so that I can make it like that. There we go. That's better. I'm surprised, actually, that we didn't have any black and white cards yet, because I see it as being about the nature of duality. It's so curious to me that the Magician is the first card that is basically coming up as the answer, because the Magician has a lot to do with seeking knowledge and seeking truth. It's like, it's the communication card. It's the directing your will, So it's like stepping into will of self versus the will of creator. So individuating and stepping into personal free will or something.
Rather than giving her power to a good or an evil.
Interesting. So it has caught us. It snagged us. We've gotten caught in something. It's half a truth. Evil is half a truth, and we've been caught in the half truth. We didn't go all the way to finish answering the question. We only got halfway there, is what I'm being shown. And what we got to made us pull back. Queen of Swords. Do you see how she's almost looking up there at our Magician? She's like, what are you going to do next? There's a sense of, it's caused us to really think.
Yeah, need to be discerning.
Yeah. So basically, evil is when we settle into the ego and we become self-identifying as an individual, and we lose touch with the whole, where we came from. We become so enamored. I think of that, what is it? The myth of Narcissus, that like looked at his image, his reflection in the water, and then he became so mesmerized he couldn't move.
Yeah.
He became stuck on that. It's like stuck on.
It's interesting too here, because I've never really thought to this part of the card before, but she's almost to the place where she has her head above the clouds, like where she's able to come into a space of clarity, and see through the mist, see through the the shadows of reality.
It really, whatever this has affected her in such a way that she's separated herself, right? The Queen of Swords is one of the most detached characters in the tarot. So there's something about separating ourselves. So evil is the trick, the magic trick, which is, you can have an ego, you can be separate, you can learn to individuate and have free will and design your own reality here on earth. But by doing, as soon as you play that game, you're automatically kind of isolated and removed from source. So we've gotten caught in that web of disconnection, disassociation. It's interesting to me that these are also two cards that are associated with technology. So the artificial, and they often call the construct of Earth or the matrix an artificial reality, an artificial state. We're not in natural law, we're in artificial reality, like a construct. Okay. And what breaks the spell is, well, this is a deep, deep emotional card.
Yeah.
And he is also, almost like learning about our fears, going to the depth of what it is that we're actually afraid of, and facing those fears is how we kind of navigate out of this.
Yeah, I see a lot of also the different colors and the waves. We so often will look at like the expansiveness of the ocean and just see like it's this big blue ocean or whatever, right? But I'm seeing here that there's a lot of different timelines, a lot of different depth to each one of these layers, that when we're feeling into what evil really means for us and how it affects us, it brings us perspective. It brings us the other end of it's a parameter builder, like so many of us are saying.
You're right, Crystal. And it's so interesting that she is the highest high of the court characters and he's the lowest low, meaning not that he's below her, but he goes to the depth of the ocean. She goes to the top of the sky. So it causes us to go from one extreme to the other in ourselves, mind and emotion, like way exaggerating into abstract thought, and then deep into emotional, like, the terror of it all, right? It tears us apart, the terror. So it's this extreme experience of those poles of rational and deep intuitive. And to me, this is what evil does. It forces us into this conflict between mind and heart.
Yes.
Right?
Can we pull on the solution?
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to pull up, we've got some great conversations going on here, and I want us to speak to some of that. Wow.
So, we kind of got the whole Garden of Eden story going on here, right? Temptation. The temptation is that Eve tempted Adam to take a bite of the tree of knowledge. Knowledge is gnosis. It's the mind. It's to, we're going to eat this and it's going to cause our brains to grow and we're going to have all these, suddenly we're going to know things and be hungry for knowledge. But then that's going to disconnect us from source consciousness, where everything is felt. You don't need to know anything. You feel it all. You don't need knowledge. What do we need knowledge for? Well, knowledge helps us individuate. So that is what that story is about. And then we're going back to that story, but we're coming through the next gateway. That was we needed to do that, maybe 6,000 years of that. And then now we're at a gateway where we can actually reconnect with source, but as individuals, individually going through one by one through that portal. A reconnect.
What are we reconnecting to?
Source.
Ourselves, to source.
So we're reconnecting with source, but we've gone through the experiment of disconnecting and learned that we can be both individual and source connected. Well, it's a big ask. That's what we're being asked to do right now. So do we drop the ego entirely? No. And it's interesting that the magician is the first step on the journey. Oh, look at that. The magician is the first step on the major arcana journey, and the world is the final step. The 21st step. 121. We've had to grow up. We've had to go through the journey of becoming whole, self-aware beings that are connected to source. And evil was part of the catalyst that pulled us into those polarities and forced us.
So I'm going to pull a couple of these comments up and let's talk to them here, because we're going down the rabbit hole with everybody. So deliberate cruelty, inflicting harm for personal satisfaction, power, or pleasure rather than out of necessity, ignorance or misguided belief in a greater good. I mean, we were kind of talking about that a bit last night, right? Like us living in this for ourselves reality where it, for some reason we are able to get away with deliberate cruelty and really inflicting harm on ourselves and other people, and that we're actually in this that it gives us, we're not just able to do it, but it gives us satisfaction and a feeling of power and a feeling of winning or being able to overlord over somebody. So, you know, but when we look at evil, if we're like, what do we need to know about evil? And we're looking at it here, this seems like so far what we're talking about is more how we're meant to be working with it as a whole, like how it's come in as
what its
whole.
purpose is.
Yeah,
what
right?
its purpose is.
So, but I'm curious about, you know, when we speak about evil, it's so much about the dark, the shadow, right? The cruelty, the harm, the
Yeah. Well, and I was sharing the story about how I heard this talk, and I was listening to Jason of Archaics. I don't know if any of you watch him, and Mark Piasso, I think was the guy's name. Anyway, you correct me if any of you know who I'm talking about. But this fellow was talking about being in a part of a satanic organization for a long time, like close to a decade, I think. And he what started in it because he liked the anarchistic idea of being like, you know, you don't owe, you're sovereign, you don't owe an explanation to anyone, you're a free will human being, you can do what you want. That's the ego part of it, right? Like, I am here, I exist, therefore I am, and all that kind of stuff. But then he said when he worked his way up to a certain point in the organization, he was privy to some of their plans, and he realized, oh, they don't stop at just, I'm a sovereign that gets to make my own choices. And, I don't owe others anything. They say it's not only my right, but it's my imperative, and it's necessary because I know this that I take from others that are too ignorant to be aware of it. And there's this idea that you've got to now like steal. The incentive is like, well, what's the good of knowing that you have power if you don't use it? And then of course you're immediately abusing it because you're stepping into the free will of another being. And it's not recognizing, he calls it the like loss of a moral code that is a universal law code. Like, what is true moral code? So interesting that it starts off because we kind of get a little drunk on the power of having this so-called freedom to experiment with reality and get away with it. But pretty soon, when you get further into that, you realize it's the opposite is true, because everything you do that has that huge, evil, hurting others, harming, stealing, it all creates karma. And you're going to experience the repercussion of that at some point. So it sets up this cycle. And it's a big learning curve, I think, for all of us, right?
Okay, so a couple more things here. I mean, there's so much, of course, going on, but has all this evil brought to the surface been what caused the dragons to awaken?
Let's have a look at the dragon energy.
And then we have another question here in regards to that.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah.
I would say yes to that.
And was the forces that created this reality system good, evil, both, or neutral?
Oh.
So maybe we do a whole...
I would do a whole spread on that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
We're deep diving.
We're deep diving. Is there one more that we can put with this one before another comment that you wanted to bring up?
Dragons to awaken. We can't actually make deeper choices without. Remember, different people see source differently. Knowledge is tapping into the Akashic records.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel the need to put down one more card. Right. So we've been given all of this energy, and a lot of it is the creative energy. It's the sexual energy, right? That's the other piece. We've been given this. We can create life. We have this life force, this chi, this power, this passion for creativity, but it's also dangerous. It's like playing with fire. Like in the Adam and Eve story here, like the burning the bush behind, this is the tree of life, sets on fire with the passion that's ignited. When we fall deeper into materialism, the body has these animal urges. It has and it also has creative energy, and it creates a lot of fire, a lot of heat, and that literally lights the tree of life on fire and burns it. So we have to be very aware of the power that's unleashed when we come into this. My personal feeling is that we can learn to work with all of this and do it in a beautiful way, in a harmonic way, where we don't damage ourselves and each other. We don't steal. We don't like burn up with passion and lust. Like, we learn to integrate. And that is this deep emotion. We become emotionally mature enough to be able to actually not tame and downplay all his energies, but actually turn them into something beautiful. Use them as creative forces.
Yeah, that deep emotion really fuels the creativity then, right? Because it's coming from that authentic place. Look at all these kings that are happening.
3 kings. The 3 kings, the wise men, right? The wise men. There's
the elementals.
And it's interesting that the wise men came from different lands. They actually saw that the power was in sharing their knowledge and their different practices that all were about working with the power of this life force energy that's unleashed. When we come into 3D, we come in and just like, wow, we're like, we got hunger, we got lust, we got all these energies that the soul is just going like, first of all, it's suffering from a massive amnesia headache. It's got all this stuff going on. So these practices coming from these ancient traditions to help us work with that energy.
John says the hard emotion to overcome is to forgive.
Yeah.
And forgiveness is an interesting one, right?
And I don't know that it's is it an emotion?
It's an action.
Yeah.
It's an action. There's feelings behind forgiveness. There's emotions behind it that on both sides of the spectrum. But forgiveness does start in ourselves.
Well, and I feel like maybe the emotion underneath it is a kind of compassion or empathy, but it's pretty deep. It's pretty deep. What forgiveness is actually, I heard someone say forgiveness is forgiving yourself permission to return to peace.
Yes.
So it's an act that you direct inward. Yeah.
My shaman teacher used to say, energy is energy. What you do with the energy is up to you. True, right? True. Okay, let's go back to that one here about the forces. Yeah.
That created the reality. Good, evil, both, or neutral. Well, let's pull one card for each.
Yeah.
Good, evil, both, or neutral.
Not 3 cards for each?
Sure.
I think 3.
Okay.
I mean, we're going down the rabbit hole.
Innocence flew out.
Innocence. Neutral. The forces that created this reality system. What do we need to know about the forces that created? Give her a good smack down. Really get that in there.
There we go. So, good on this side. Oh, well, that remains to be seen, I think. When the dust settles, we can see that there's going to be good that results, or the opportunity for choosing good will come from this. But right now, it doesn't look very good. What we see at the moment does not look very good.
In terms of the forces that created this
Correct.
reality.
Evil. Power. Those two together are dangerous because he's all about power and he's all about life force. So it's like putting your finger in a light socket, right? Yeah, in anger. Ooh. I think evil in the sense of hubris, of unconscious power. This is power, life force, like untethered passion and anger. Whoa. So I think there was a big fallout where something happened, a power struggle happened, and someone was tricked into thinking, I'm going to go and do my own thing and it's going to be better. Like there was it's like the prodigal son or something is what I feel. So yes, if you call that evil, I think there was anger and power and one that just couldn't be contained and said, I'm out of here. I'm going to create an experiment and get away from you.
Yeah.
It's so much the biblical stories, right? It's like, okay.
Both would be neutral, wouldn't it?
Well, let's see both.
Okay, both. Let's both it. That's a funny one.
That is a funny one. I feel like never at the same time. It was never both at the same time. I think that there's different.
There's a line in the sand on that one. It's yeah.
So good remains to be seen. Both can never happen simultaneously. It's like saying you can have love and fear at the same time. They say, you got to choose one or the other. So both, even if there's an attempt to have both, you're always either in one or the other, is what I'm hearing. And then let's look at neutral. Oh, well, that's a pretty neutral card. It's a neutral card. Neutral. Oh. Well, that might be how we break the spell. That might be how we get out of this. Neutral. Power neutral. Yeah.
That is how we overcome. That's how we...
It's the bridge. Neutrality is the bridge.
How we define our own system.
Yeah. And it's actually taking a pause with like knowledge, because knowledge only gets us so far, and then we've got to wait for instinct to kick in. And if it doesn't show up, like if the proof does not follow what you know, you need to give it a goodly amount of time to show itself. But if it doesn't show up, then you need to bark up another tree. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, being neutral makes sense.
Well, it's interesting, he has neutralized the black and white polarity.
Yeah.
But it's also like, where do you follow this? Who is your guide on this path to neutrality? Is it an outward? Do you go outward to get learning and then you bring that in? And let's look at that. Because he's a teacher. He's like a spiritual leader or a teacher. Yeah, then you've got to go in and practice it yourself.
Nice.
And you've also got to
tune with nature.
Yeah, you've got to, or you get to practice it and see the natural world's response, like work with natural law.
This is also, right, we're coming from this two-pointed, from this V, we've got two V's here. Right? So we're coming from this two-pointed reality, and then we bring it inward, and then it comes to connection with spirit, connection with natural law, right?
3. The Empress is the 3.
Yeah, which is bringing in the instinct part that Mom was talking about. And
look at that, the Empress and the Strength Maiden. And the Hermit. Wow, what a trio.
So neutrality is the win. I mean, win is a loaded word.
And the final one is miles to go, just one little step at a time.
Yeah.
And integrate. If you can't bring it into practice,
breathe deep.
Yeah. Wow, that was an interesting roller coaster.
We went down the hole for 30-something minutes.
Whoa. Next question.
Let's do it. Okay, we'll take this off and then we'll go right to, let's just follow that up with this and then we'll go into Canada. If you sow a good seed, good karma, it comes back magnified. Plant bad karma and you get the same fruit. Quite possible. Okay. Can you talk about
Canada? Well, you know, Crystal, I'm going to get you to shuffle on
Yes,
this
please.
too, love. And you know that we often see deep state, which I believe are still acting out many of their initiatives. Whether it's a movie, whether there's still some power there, hard to say for sure. But I see that they are. One of their tactics is to try and experiment with different modalities of control in different regions. So even, for example, you see with the pandemic where there was like, it was handled one way in one area, one way, especially in the, you know, the G5 countries or the G8 countries or whatever, like they'll try different strategies. So you'll talk to people in Europe. We know people in Denmark and in Holland and in the UK, and they're going through each one a different style of control tactic. And then, of course, Canada has its version. So you could say in a way that there's experiments. I actually think that the experiments are designed to go along with the local strengths and weaknesses. Like they put in place things that are going to really activate a result with this particular population. So what is it about Canada that would make it easier for them to implement homeowner Indigenous land rights, which really translates into we're going to use the Indigenous people for a period of time to extricate everybody from their land rights, and then we're just going to take the land rights from everyone, especially because there'll be big wars that ensue, and then it'll just be like, well, the government will solve that. We'll just have all the land, and you guys don't need to fight about it anymore. So that, it's I mean, I hate to say it, but like if you're a rational, pragmatic, I want to say architecturally minded person, which I am, that's how I would go about it. If I was trying to design a control thing, I would do it like, hey, there's already this fragile relationship at play here in Canada between First Nations, Indigenous people, and European settlers, and it's a lot more recent that catalytic energy is just in the last literally even less than 200 years, where in the US it's a lot more years. I mean, East Coast of Canada is different. There's a much longer standing tradition, but Canada as an entity is a younger country. So we're looking at we're being targeted for this particular strategy to see how it goes, basically. So what I've been saying for a while now is, while the door is open for negotiation with First Nations and land right claims and all that, let's all of us sovereign truth warriors rush the gate and push the door wide open and say, hey, if we're talking about land rights, let's talk about Canada the Illusion. Let's talk about the Crown doesn't own any of this land. Let's have a really big memorandum and resort out the whole thing.
Can I ask how you do that? Like, that's so easy enough to talk about and say that's what we need to do, but how do you actually freaking do that?
Well, you start with people saying, I want to go further into this conversation. Anyone that is currently in the political arena with this topic, to actually step further in, instead of just trying to win on one side or the other, right? Trying to, where is this leading? Where does this go next? So will homeowners lose their land? I think the larger land grab has already happened. It's like, do the homeowners even have land
How many rights do we actually have at this point?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's not about losing what we have. It's, do we have what we think we have? And how do we find that out? We have to go deep in to the system and actually discover, what do we own? What is this? And so this is actually a perfect opportunity for us to push deep into this topic. This is it's not just about 2 or 3 cases or certain regions. This is, well, it's national and it's international. property law, right? This is a big, big turning point. The
Yeah, it
wake
is.
up judgment,
It
go
is a
big and go
wake-up call.
home.
Yeah.
It's, you know, really big rights could be taken down the drain with this. And again, see it as a global issue. See it as a continental issue. See it as a national issue, not just a regional, this group against that group. Because if they keep us divided like that, we won't be able to get into the deeper, yeah, and go in it. Isn't that interesting? What do you think about that, Crystal? The Knight of Cups.
I mean, we've talked about this, you know, as we do our own deep diving into it off channel. And we've talked about what are we presenting as an alternative to ownership of land? What about stewardship of land? What about us coming together and stewarding the lands in our communities with our own private councils, with electing our own councils to steward the land that our community members, quote unquote, own, right? Like if they're going to take the land from you anyhow, wouldn't you rather come together and all agree to present something different? So this to me feels like an offering of something that comes from a more heart-centered place, something that feels more like less contractual and stringent and more honoring us as people that are here in service to the land ultimately.
Yeah, a deeper connection, a deeper, more meaningful questions being asked. Not do we get our land back? Do we get to do something entirely new with
the land,
with land and with property ownership? And so these things are moving at a rapid rate, right? This is all happening really quickly. And I can see the anxiety where people are like, but I also see, for example, just listening to some of the narratives going back and forth on both sides of this, the Indigenous people are also, from what I've heard, they're also going, whoa, wait a minute, like this is moving too fast. Like we don't necessarily want to take private land away from people.
That's right.
We want to have conversations about how this land got used in the first place. Why is it being used this way? We want to have more say in how it is used. You know, of course, that's not everyone. I know that there are individuals and there's even organizing bodies on both sides that are very much in the ego, very much in that, you know, we want what's good for our people now. We don't care about tomorrow. We don't care about anyone else, but we are all together in this.
It's like any of these big narrative implementations, you know, like the pandemic and these land grabs are happening in a huge way all over the world. I mean, look at the farmers and their outrage. You know, we can blame it on the Indigenous people at this point, but they're kind of also just pawns in the whole thing. And they're going, you know, they're going to have their battles with it too.
And their internal battles within their own groups.
Exactly.
You know, so beware.
They're going to be divided in all of this also. Yeah. Beware,
but also take the caring approach to this. Could be an opportunity to go all the way down the rabbit hole with this, and it looks positive so far. It looks positive.
It does.
So let's see. Oh yeah, we're gonna have to work on this. Is the working card a working relationship? Do we want to make improvements? Do we want to make communities, lands, economies, regional economies healthy again? Let's focus on what our common goals are and not just focus on private ownership as like, do I get my, you know, $300,000 back or what? Like, it's like, yeah, we all deserve to be like provided for by the incredible resources that are here.
Also, who's to say, right, this whole transference of ownership, then if they can do that to the people that technically own the land, who's to say that they're not going to go ahead and then do that to the Indigenous people once they've given it to them in the first place, right? It's a false narrative. It's got a glass ceiling.
You're right.
So and they're not stupid either. That's why there is the division there, because it's like, hold on a sec. How many
Mhm.
times have they done this to us? How many times have they made it seem like a good thing when it's
Look
they're just
at
using us as a
this.
pawn,
Look
right?
at
It's an
this.
invitation for an
Oh my
upgrade.
gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
this is actually, I would, now I'm going into the white hat side a bit, and I'm saying this has actually been set up.
Yeah.
And it's actually designed to help us like unpack this whole private ownership. Not, look, I am not talking socialism. I am not talking communism. And you know, I've done tons of research on the isms, capitalism, communism, socialism, and my ism is contributionism. It's a totally different ism. This is not about going into a socialist regime, folks. I'm not talking about we all divide up the land and have a central power dominant authority model that runs
this
it.
is not like
No.
nobody's going to own anything. We'll all be happy. This is not what we're talking about.
Well, we will have a different type of ownership.
Mhm.
We'll still have lots of individuation, lots of sovereign autonomy to make choices, but look at this. Look at this. This is just beautiful. I mean, so wherever this is leading, at a CKQ, wherever this is leading, this is going to be the possibility of real beautiful growth. It's a turning point for us. And that makes me think that this is more of a white hat operation. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see people. This is not
it's
not about people losing their
I
lands.
don't
This
think
is
they're going to lose their land.
Yeah.
So the long narrative, the final answer is no. I
Mhm.
don't think anyone's going to lose their land, but I do think we need to go into this discussion really open-hearted and willing to work on building a whole new system. There, that's it.
The invitation is the judgment call is now. The time has come.
Mhm.
Right? And we're all going to be here with this greater knowledge that we're receiving, that we're being channeled, that is being channeled through all of us to lead by example and start spreading the word. Start spreading the news.
Do you have another question for us there, love? We got time for one more, I think.
Okay, so we've got one about cold cases, and we have one about early morn. Can we save this for a little closer to solstice?
Yes, please.
Right? Because I think we'll do a deep dive around solstice in general.
We will.
So we are not going to forget about you, my dear. We're going to come back to that question because we really want to cover that. Cool?
Love it.
Cool.
Love it.
She'll understand. She's the best.
Okay.
I would love to hear a deep dive on cold cases. We have so many unsolved mysteries right now that truth are revealed. We'll learn about Natalie Holloway, John Bennett, and other American unsolved mysteries.
Joan Benet, I think her name was. It was that.
Ramsey. Yeah, the little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so a deep dive on cold cases. Truths are revealed. Will we learn more about these?
Do I get to? No.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Here. Will we learn more about these? And I think also, what are we ready to do with that information at this point? Like, what is that, knowing that, going to give us the opportunity to do? Right away, I heard networks and webs. I heard like this exposes webs and networks. So it adds evidence to what is up until the more evidence that starts to come out. Well, we know this, obviously, you know, with what's going on with the Epstein files, but we know this even, for example, with in small local cases where there's been, you know, some kind of like a homicide or a sexual assault or whatever, and you'll start, it's sort of like it drops the first bit of evidence or the first person that comes forward, and then it sets this usually like a trend where everyone is coming out of the woodwork to, you know, also share that they've had an experience like that or whatever. So I think what happens is that as this more and more of this is coming to the surface, it's all going to start to pour out. Let's see what the cards say about that. And then what it allows us, instead of going like, oh my God, the world is so evil, all of this was already there. It was there 20, 30 years ago when you were dancing in your living room out with your friends, having a good old time. It was all happening. It's nothing new, more evil. In fact, in my estimation, having watched all of this for decades, I feel we are way better than we were. It's just that all the old gunk is coming up to the surface now, right?
Perhaps they were victims of the human trafficking vampires, right? Like
yeah.
Have...
So this is a really big ending. We're bringing everything is coming to a final conclusion. And, you know, it's evidence starts to literally appear. And have you ever noticed? Yeah. Have you ever noticed that when things are ready to be seen, the evidence shows up?
That's what I was going to say. It's like diving into our ancestry as well, right? It's things that were never there before. We've done all the deep dive, all the deep digging that we can, and yet we still honor that they existed. We still say their names, speak their stories, and then the next piece comes up because we allow ourselves to keep going back and keep having a look and say, this isn't over yet, right? So more will be revealed.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this, everybody. For the four corners, these are the only two cards that have those. The four
we're not coming in clearly here somehow.
Oh.
No, it just is. There you go. Got it.
The four corners on both of the Wheel of Fortune and the World, they're very similar cards. You see that? You've got the eagle, the angel, the bull, and the lion. The eagle, the angel, the bull, and the lion. It's the points on the, I never remember which one it is in astrology, if it's the cardinal or fixed directions. But basically what that represents to me is coming from all corners of the earth, coming from all directions. This is sort of like we've hit this critical mass turning point and everything is going to come to the surface really fast here, really fast. Within the next year and a half, so much is going to be brought to the surface.
So much exposure.
And this is where it's important to, you know, I'm just hearing like, for some reason, I don't know why I heard take antacids, like, no, if you're going to eat something horrible, you need to take something to like make that more palatable. Like, just know you don't want to just ingest all this and think, oh my gosh, the world is such a horrible place. Because as I said, it's almost all over. It's almost all past. It's almost all in the past. So what we're seeing is things coming to the surface.
We're also seeing the consciousness that is capable of handling and healing this information coming forward.
Look at that.
Too.
Working with it.
Yes.
Working with it. And also to see the extent, the global network. So I would say, I would agree with you. This is going to expose a global network even further. So these cold cases, as they start to be, the evidence is coming forward. And like I said, once one pocket opens, all the pockets start opening. And next thing you know, you just have this massive, you know, expose happening. So, oh my gosh.
Holy moly, I'm going to hide this comment so that everybody can see what is happening here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is within the next 8 months. Oh my goodness. We're going to see.
You know, and I think that it's really interesting because we're also hearing a lot of people that are having these really deep dive conversations with AI where there's so many truths that are being exposed through like code conversations and all of that kind of stuff. And then those people take that and put more information out. It's like, this is going to be going off like,
and two 8s. Someone is pointing out, who is saying that? A pair of 8s. Murdoch. Thank you. Yeah. Doubles, mastery of the energy of momentum. So this will build, you're right, the wheel of fortune is also like spinning the wheel of momentum. The momentum, it's been on hold, it's been stuck, boom, it's going to start to, I know, Lupo, right?
Lupo reads cards too.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't make this shit up. You can't.
No,
Here you go.
no, like this
Yeah.
is, as readers, this is definitely, our eyes are bugging out.
And for
right?
anyone who's just coming on, we're doing just a deep dive into unsolved mysteries and truths being revealed. So these are some pretty powerful cards to be getting on truths coming out.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. And like I said, in the next 8 months. So again, how, you know, someone was asking, can we heal this together? It's already underway. Here, just, I got the chills when I said it, and I really want you all to just maybe wrap yourselves up in this. Even take your arms right now and just give yourself a little rub. You want to do it too,
Me
Crystal? Yeah. Give yourself a little rub. Like,
I feel like I need to rub my solar plexus.
And pat,
this is
a little pat.
This is like the transmuter of all of this information.
Yeah, this part of the
right?
arms is really comforting. Like it comforts the vagal nervous system, and then tapping on your shoulders, just like you would pat someone on the shoulder, pat them on the back, right? So
move it through our bodies, move it through our bodies.
So what I heard was that it wouldn't be coming out if it wasn't already healing. It's already healing. That's why it's surfacing.
Yeah. Deletes are no longer protected.
It's already in the healing process. Have you ever heard of a healing crisis? When you do toxic detox and you get to a point and then it all comes out? That's where we are. The healing has begun. The healing has begun. We are already doing it. Yeah. So warm yourself with that. You know, go, really, I feel like I'm serious. I'm going to be a mama now, tell you all to go have a hot drink or a cool drink and, you know, put something, wrap yourself up for a few minutes after this. That's a lot. That's a lot to just even think these thoughts and look at this stuff. Take some deep breaths, maybe go out, walk around, have a breath of fresh air, you know, do something to say, we are already healing. We've talked about evil today, right? We've talked about like land, ownership, private property, where this is going. And we've talked about these extraordinary cases that have been, you know, hanging in limbo for decades, many of them.
You know, John says here, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. And Early Morn says, tell the trans community that. You know, I feel like there's probably a deep dive to go down on that whole topic as well. That, you know, many people are tiptoeing around, sort of speaking to, and some people really speak to it with their opinions and stuff like that. But you know, it would be another interesting one to look at. You know, what are we meant to know about that whole reality being a part of our world at this point, right? Yeah. Scorpio moon, a good time.
There's the mama, and the mama says, go and do something, have a warm drink, have a cool drink, rub yourself, splash some water on your neck, maybe have something to eat, go take a breath of fresh air.
Pet a kitty.
Pet a kitty.
Yeah. Snuggle a baby.
Yeah, right.
Play with a kiddo.
Yeah.
Play with the child in you. Honor that
any number of these things.
That's
right?
who we're talking about as well, right? When we're talking about all of this information coming through. I'm going to make us bigger as we close this off here. When we talk about all this information coming through, we need to consider that our inner children are also processing this, and we need to care for them. So that's who we're doing these little rituals with, right? Caring for our bodies, drinking a nice hot cup of tea, doing something that fills our heart's cup up, right?
Because it's work. You just did work, everybody. What we just did was work. That was spiritual heavy lifting. So give yourself a little breather, integrate it so it doesn't stick in your mind and become like ice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
And it's so good for us to be
Mhm.
doing these deep dives together so that we're not alone in looking at some of these bigger topics that are stirring. They're activating,
They're
right?
stirring. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
very stirring. Speaking of stirring, let's jump into our credits here for the final.
Let's talk about
Hey,
if
let's talk about
you're
getting a session with myself
yeah,
or Crystal. You can get
yeah,
even a half hour with Crystal. So awesome. Check out the link below. You can get a
absolutely.
discount on that.
Head on over. And we wanted to also talk about, yeah, just a reminder here that we still have the gold and silver.
The hidden story. They
hidden
don't want you to
story.
know. So this is what was done at the conference. So if you have the conference, either the replay or you were there, you get the replay. It's in there. But if you haven't seen this yet, it was an amazing talk. So $777 US, pretty reasonable price to get that access to that extraordinary talk.
Yeah, we all want to know these details, right? We all want to be on
Totally.
this same wavelength going on. And we also want to remind you that you're hanging out with us now on Down the Rabbit Hole. It looks like we don't have anything further this afternoon, but tuning into the Coco Show tomorrow.
Yeah, no Penny Kelly and I tomorrow. She's teaching.
Yeah.
So I think we're back the following Friday. And then you can see me on Saturday for the Psychic Tarot Show. We will look at the forecast for the upcoming week. Can't wait for that.
Can't wait. And it's been such an honor and a pleasure to tune in with all of you today. Thank you so much, everyone, every week for all that you bring.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Blessings to all of you.
Have a joyous rest of the week.
Be well.